All right, good morning, guys. So back out on the grounds here, just pulled up to our spot at the Buskin. Gonna do a little subsistence fishing for some red salmon.
Yeah, we were out here yesterday, but we ended up with 5 for the day well, not the day, the afternoon actually.
Yeah, so it was about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually not quite 4 hours, so
Yep.
not too bad. So it was a fun afternoon.
Yeah,
And,
got a little bit of action for our efforts anyway.
Looks like a beautiful morning, light wind, nice rainbow over there, and looks like we're all alone out here. So it's 6 a.m. That's when you're allowed to start fishing. So we're out here bright and early. Tide's fallen, so we're hoping there's gonna be some backouts this morning. It's a real big tide. So we'll get the net out and see what we can do here. We're all ready to rock and roll. We got some company this morning, 2 seals from yesterday and a bonus sea lion. So it should be a fun morning competing with these guys.
Yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, so not sure how much filming we'll be able to get. Our cameraman stayed in town, so we're on our own. So it might be kind of hard to get a lot of footage unless we get a good hit, but it'll definitely be a race to the finish line with these guys. Got another boat over here. They just moved around a minute ago, but they haven't been doing anything all morning either. So anyways, not much going on yet. Hoping we get some fish here soon. Looks like our little critters left for the moment, so now would be a good time for a hit. So just a little background, I guess, on the subsistence program that's open to Alaska residents. The permit doesn't cost anything. You just go in, you fill out a form, get a piece of paper, you log the fish that you catch each day and the location, and it's what's the limit? 25 for a head of household.
Yep.
25 fish a year for head of household, and then 25 fish for each additional member. And then if you need more, you can go in and request more. So it's a pretty generous program. It's nice to have that ability for residents of Alaska to go and fill up their freezers. I keep thinking that just any second we're gonna get a fish in this net. Any second, come on.
It's gonna happen.
Boy, it sure be nice to see some splashes right now.
Perfect timing for it. Come on.
I don't even see the seals anymore. They don't worry me so much, but the sea lions, they're fast. They're really hard to beat to the fish.
Fast and fearless too.
Yeah, fast and fearless is right. They'll get right in there with you. They don't spook easy. Trying to rip the fish right out of your hand if they get a chance. There, on the end. I can't tell which side though. It's about 5 corks in. Yeah. See him? There we go. Starts
right on.
Nice fish too. See, you came in from the outside, huh?
Yep.
Ah.
A Bristol Bay gillnetter, we are not.
No. I'm sure I'd be getting yelled at. All right, beautiful.
Starts with 1.
Look at that beauty.
Very nice. nice. We've got our Tanner taxi here. We'll just pour some water in there. Sweet.
Awesome. There it is.
Heck yeah.
What's that foam over there? Is that
There he is. Too late, buddy.
You probably heard us come roaring over here. Beautiful fish. Turn him into a nice meal. Get out of here, you.
What a pest.
You chump. Hi guys, welcome back to EIS Alaska.
Hi guys.
So this evening we're just down on the boat. We're gonna get some sockeye salmon filleted up, and we have some fish down here in our hold that we caught yesterday. Nice and chilled down. This water's about probably 33 degrees. It's got ice in there that's just finished melting, but fish are nice and cold. So we're gonna grab these guys out and get them filleted up.
Beautiful.
Just about as fresh as you can get.
Boy, those are nice fish. They're big.
They're beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
So most of these are males. We only had one female out of that whole bunch, which was 11 fish. So this one here is a female right there. You can tell by the head. So it doesn't have as much as a hook on its nose. And the head is shorter too. Put a male up there for comparison. So these are really nice fish. Hardly any scale loss. This one just some from the net. Nice and fresh though.
So how can you tell these are reds? Because the tail color or the...
Yeah, so the tail color and the scale size.
Uh-huh.
The scales are large. The tail is just kind of a pale color. There's no silver streaks through it like a silver would look like. Pretty similar as far as scale size, but you'd have streaks going through there. Pinks, the scales are real small, fish are smaller. Kings, of course, are much bigger. Diamonds on the back, black gums. These guys have white gums.
And these ones get really bright red towards and
Yeah,
July,
towards the end of their spawning cycle when they're up in the river, their whole body will be red and a green head.
mm-hmm.
That's probably maybe that kind of iconic picture that a lot of people see, red salmon.
Yeah.
Is when they're up in the river and the whole river just looks red and their green heads everywhere. Yeah.
Beautiful fish.
Yeah, nice and cold. Okay guys, so we got our nice sockeye salmon, also known as red salmon, common term. So we're just gonna go ahead and fillet this guy up. I'm gonna start my cut right by the head there, and then just follow it right along the fin, down the back. So I'm just trying to kind of guide my knife right along the bones right there. I don't lose a lot of meat. And I just kind of come right up to the center of the spine, and then I tip my knife down a little bit to get down on the rest of that meat right there. And just do our best to stay on the bones right there so we don't waste a bunch of meat.
Nice, nice.
And then for the other side, I'm not very good at flipping it over and cutting it this way. It always seems like I end up cutting back into the fillet and wasting a lot of meat. So I always just run my knife right along the inside like this, and I can see my knife tip guiding along the bones right here. So I know I'm just right up against them tight, and then I'll just pull it out, It's okay if you split that fin in half. It's all going to get trimmed up before these go in the freezer or the canner, whichever we choose to do with them. And we'll turn it over and just kind of continue the process from the other side. Cut it up here by the head. You can hear it hitting the pin bones right there. Chip our knife down a little bit. And just follow those rib bones. There we go. So yeah, 2 nice fillets. We'll rinse these off, and then we'll get them all trimmed up, and we'll take them home and pack them up. Oops.
All right, guys, so one's almost done here filleting.
I guess that's about it for filleting these up. We're just gonna trim them up, pack them, and bring them home, and then we'll decide if we're gonna can them up or freeze them, I guess.
Yep. Probably won't smoke them, or are we going to maybe think about it?
Probably not these, because we have some coho left over from last year that we'll probably just smoke up instead. So we'll probably also cook one for dinner, so.
Sounds delicious, can't wait.
Yep, we got a couple nice bags of fish. I don't know, maybe probably about 20 pounds, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's probably a good 10 or 12 right there. So got some beautiful fillets to package up or can up at home. Yeah, so gonna get things cleaned up real quick, scrub everything down, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to EIS Alaska. On today's episode of Catch, Clean, and Cook, we're gonna can up some salmon for you.
Yeah, so we went out and got some nice threads. We got them all cleaned up, and now we're ready to get them prepared and preserved for later this year when the runs are over and we don't have access to fresh salmon anymore. Yeah, we're going to use wide mouth quarts, and these are new, so we're just going to toss them in the dishwasher and give them a quick clean. Let's just go over some of the things that we need to can these up. Some jars, of course, your choice, quart, pints, half pints.
And your lids, they got a seal on them. You want to make sure that they're nice and clear. No gashes.
No rust.
No rust.
Yep.
Yep.
Don't reuse them. You'll need a set of canning tongs to lift the hot jars out of the pressure cooker after they're done cooking. And then, of course, a pressure cooker. And so ours is a 7-quart. So we'll be able to do 7 quarts in here at once, or 14 pints. A little bit of background about these is you're cooking under pressure with steam and heat, so it's really important that you follow safety guidelines. It's really easy to get hurt, to get burned. You want to take that into account if you're not familiar with canning, with pressure cooking. Make sure that you read up and you understand how to use them, or find somebody that does, that can teach you. And you can also go to your local cooperative extension office, and they can help guide you through the process and give you advice. A couple other things about them is this one has a pressure gauge on it, so it's important that these are in good working condition, because this is how you regulate the pressure, and that's important in the cooking process. Too little pressure, your fish won't cook properly, and you can risk getting botulism, and that's a very dangerous bacteria. It can kill you. So it's very important that you cook this fish properly. This is just a safety valve right here, so if the pressure gets too high, it'll blow this off and release the pressure through this. You want to make sure you get a gasket. There's no cuts, no gashes, that it seals properly. And at the beginning of the year, it's always a good idea just to put a couple of quarts of water in your pan, put the lid on it, turn it on, test it, make sure it comes up to pressure, make sure it holds pressure, that it's not leaking or anything. So we already did that.
Yeah.
So we're good to go on that. And so that's just kind of our quick safety spiel, I guess. We can link the publication from the University of Alaska Fairbanks Cooperative Extension. They've got some really good information on canning fish, the canning times for quarts, and the canning times for pints, because they're different. The quart ones take longer because there's more volume there. It's going to take longer to get that fish up to temperature inside the jar before you actually start timing it. So you really want to follow those closely.
Yeah, you want to do your research.
Yeah.
And make sure that you do everything accordingly.
Yeah, because I mean, this is your family's safety and health, and you want to make sure that you put a product out that's going to be shelf stable and safe to eat. And so, with that being said, I guess the next thing is just to start getting our fish cut up and prepared to go in the jars.
Yep.
You can do this a lot of different ways. Some people will just can whole fish. I guess you scale them and cut them into pieces. And we've got fillets. I'm going to skin them. So it's a pretty easy process. Just stretch the fillet out. I'm going to start down at the tail end. Bring your knife in at an angle. Slide your knife down. Once you get in a little ways, you can grab the skin with your hand, and that'll make it a little easier. So I got my knife at a fairly sharp angle because I'm trying to get all of the meat off of the skin. If you guys are familiar with salmon, or if you're not, I should say, you know, a lot of the healthy stuff is in the omega-3s. It's in this fat layer right here, and you can see that it's completely gone. And so all that fat layer is on the skin right here. It's a starker meat. It's really healthy, high in omega-3. So we want to capture all of that. So I'm just going to go through and I'll continue skinning these fillets. We'll start cutting these into pieces. And the jars are just a little over 6 inches deep, so I'm just going to measure off my board right here, and I'll put a mark at about 5.5 inches or so, and that'll give me 3/4 to 1 inch of head space, and then I can just line my fillet up and cut it. It makes it nice and easy. So I'm just going to use my tape measure and a marker. I'll just come off of this rim right here and put a mark at maybe about 5.5 or something. Put it like right over here though. Like I say, I'm just going to come right off my board right here. I've got a mark. You can cube it up, you can slice it. This works good. With the wide mouth jar, you'll be able just to drop them right in there. So we'll have a bunch of little pieces at the end usually. These are good just to kind of cube up, pack in the crevices and the cracks so you can fill your jars full.
And speaking of jars, when you pull the jars out of the dishwasher, you're going to want to check the surface just to make sure there's nothing, no grime or any chips. If there's any chips, you're going to want to just go ahead and get rid of that jar.
Yeah, the last thing you want is to have one of these either break or not seal, because you put a lot of work and effort into this, harvesting the fish, caring for it, filleting it, and so you want to try and maximize your production and not lose any of your product. Occasionally you will have a jar that fails in your pressure cooker and might break, and that's kind of a bummer. It's just the way it goes, but hopefully it won't. Seems to be pretty few and far in between. So we're just leaving the pin bones in. These are going to cook up, you won't even notice them. It'll soften up enough to where it's actually edible, so you don't really need to worry about it. So I'll just finish skinning the rest of these fillets and getting them chopped up to size, and while I'm doing that, Anita can start filling some jars.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get the fillet stuffed in here. We'll grab these smaller pieces and put them in there too, just to fill those gaps. You don't want to put too much fish in there. You got to leave space for when it's cooking.
Yeah, you want about about an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of head space. And that's the space at the top of the jar. That allows some room for expansion because the moisture and fats and everything are going to expand when they get hot, so that needs somewhere to go.
Helps to tilt the jar a little bit too.
So this was 16 pounds, right?
Yeah, which makes 7 jars for the pressure cooker.
Yeah, I guess we'll see here in a minute. Okay guys, so the last thing that we need to do before we get these in the cookers is we're going to add a little bit of salt. This is completely optional. 1 to 2 teaspoons for a quart is fine. And we just use canning salt. You can use table salt, but the iodine in it can kind of give your product an off flavor, so it's best to just use some pickling or canning salt. And so we'll add that, and then we'll put the lids on.
Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and put 1 scoop in. Sprinkle it around.
No, just dump it on.
Oh, just dump it on?
Because it's going to boil, it's all going to mix up. So you can also add like olive oil to this if you want, or seasonings or spices, garlic. It's completely up to you. If you're doing like white fish like cod or halibut, they suggest that you put some olive oil in there because they're such lean fish. So now we're just putting the lids on, making sure that there are no gashes or anything in them. Put them on, put the ring on. You don't need to tighten this down hard. You just hand tight is fine. You want the air to expand out of it, and then as it cools down it's going to form a vacuum and it's going to pull this top in and pull it down, and then that's going to create the seal.
You hear them pop as you...
As they cool.
Yeah, as they cool.
Yep. And it'll take hours, you know, really, before they start to cool down. When they come out, it'll just be like a rolling boil in there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for some canned fish.
It's a great way to preserve fish if you don't have a lot of freezer space. And it's just a versatile ingredient too for like salmon patties and things like that. Okay, so next step is off to the pressure cooker. Okay guys, so we got our jars all packed, ready to go. Lids and rings are on. Last thing to do is just to prepare our pressure cooker. So we're going to put a rack in the bottom. This will just hold the jars off the bottom. Took a look at our lid. It's all good to go. The vent's clear, that's very important. Seal's good. We'll start stacking our jars in here. So we just want to position these so they're not touching each other and they're not touching the sides of the pressure cooker. So this is a 7-quart pressure cooker. So it'll take 7 full quarts or 14 pints. So we just kind of got to do our best here to position these.
Alrighty, and then we add 2 to 3 quarts of water.
So you just want this to come up maybe 2 to 3 inches up the side of the jars. And you need to make sure you have sufficient water in there, because if it runs dry, catastrophe will ensue. And your jars will break and all your hard work will be down the drain. And just pour in warm water. Don't pour in hot water or anything. You don't want to shock your jars and risk cracking them. And I think that looks pretty good. So next we're just gonna line up the lid. It's got a little notch right here that you align to the arrow here. Then you line up the handles and lock it. And so we're gonna turn this on high and we're gonna heat this for 20 minutes. And keep an eye on this vent. We're leaving the vent cap off, the weight. And when there's a steady stream of steam escaping from this vent, then we're going to let it run for 10 more minutes on high. And at that point, we're going to put our weight on, and then it'll start building pressure. Okay guys, so our lid's on. We're all ready to go. We're going to get this going. Get it up to 11 psi, and then we'll start our timer again, and we want to cook this for 160 minutes at 11 psi. If you're at a higher altitude, like over 2,000 feet, your pressure is going to be a little bit more, but you'll be able to find all that information in the link that I put in the comments, and that's a brochure to the extension office at University of Alaska Fairbanks. It has all the information on how to safely can fish. If for any reason your pressure drops below that recommended level, you need to start your timer over. So these are pretty hard, solid rules to follow. It's, you know, you don't want to do this fast and loose because the risk of botulism is just too great. And so you want to protect yourselves and your family, and you certainly don't want to waste all your time and effort to get to this point and then have your fish spoil because you didn't cook it correctly. So just follow those rules, you'll be fine. You'll put out a safe product, and it'll be a great meal that your family can enjoy later. And now we'll just wait for this to heat up, and then we'll continue on. And I guess about the only other thing is that once you get this up to pressure, you know, you really want to keep an eye on this because it'll try and creep down a little bit. It'll try and get too high. You're going to have to fiddle with your heat and keep it constant there. You want to kind of watch this like a hawk and ensure success.
And also with your heat source, is it any different than with gas than it is electric?
No, they both work fine. Gas is probably a little more responsive. You'll be able to heat it up or drop the temperature a little bit quicker. But electric works fine too. Really the biggest thing is just keeping a sharp eye on it. It's better to have it a little bit higher than obviously under your recommended pressure. And so we're just going to shoot for 12 and a half. We usually cooked it around 13, I think. Doesn't hurt it to have a little bit higher, but you definitely don't want it lower. And in doing that, you'll give yourself a little bit of a cushion, so if it does start to drop, you know, a little bit too fast, you can turn up the heat and get it back up to where it needs to be. That being said, I guess we'll just start tightening up around here, and we'll bring you back when we get some steam coming out of this. Okay guys, so this is finally coming up to temperature. We've got a solid stream of steam coming out of here, so I got my timer set for 10 minutes. We're going to let that run. Once that counts down, we'll put the pressure regulator on there, and then we'll wait for it to come up to 11 psi, and we'll start timing the cook. We're going to put the pressure regulator on the steam vent right there. I'm just going to use a pair of tongs and drop it on there. And in a minute the safety plug will close, and then our pressure will start to climb up. So once this climbs up to 11 psi, we'll start our timer again, and we're going to cook this for 160 minutes. Okay guys, so we're up to the correct pressure here. Set my timer. So I'll be able to turn my heat down pretty low, kind of almost to a simmer here. And I'll just keep an eye on it so it doesn't drop below 11. I'm just going to try and hold it right about 12 there. So I'll probably have to fiddle with it for on and off here for the next 15 or 20 minutes, and then after that it should stay pretty close to where I want it. So we'll check back with you later. Okay guys, so we're just finishing up here. We're about to wrap up this episode of Catch, Clean, and Cook. Our pressure cooker is cooled off, the safety relief valve is down, and the pressure is at 0, so we can safely open this up, but we still need to be careful because it's extremely hot inside. I'm going to open up the lid, and we'll grab our our tongs. And we're going to take these and set them on a cooling rack. The liquid is boiling inside still, so you want to be careful that you don't hit them against the side of the pressure cooker and break them or anything. We're just going to get them out here to where they can start to cool off. And as they cool, this liquid will contract and it'll pull a vacuum on these, and these lids will suck down tight and become airtight. So everything's looking good right now. I don't see any broken jars in here, so that's a good sign. Believe it or not, sometimes you won't notice it till you pull one out and you'll just get like half a jar.
Yeah.
And that's always a bummer. Nice, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Thank you for joining us, and please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll see you again next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.